Hey, this is Daniel, and you're listening to the Drummer Daily Podcast. I'm going to stop numbering these podcasts. I was saying what number each episode was, but I'm not going to do that anymore because I realized that I plan on doing these daily, and honestly, I'll probably end up forgetting what number it is very soon. So, no more numbers, but I will just mention that one thing. Yesterday, if you listen to yesterday's podcast, you probably heard it just randomly cut off at the end, which if you actually listen to the podcast, you'll know that that was just par for the course yesterday. Things going wrong and having to fight through things, which happens a lot sometimes in the life of an entrepreneur and definitely the life of a drummer. Things don't always go right. So sorry about that if you heard that, but we're recovering today. Wanted to tell you today, I actually had a chance to go down to a studio in Nashville here and meet up with my friend Rami, who owns A&F Drums, which is the drum company that I endorse, and got to have this cool like all-day demo session thing where he was letting drummers from Nashville, professional drummers, come in and try out the drums in person. Maybe they hadn't heard them in person, but the cool thing was each person had like a block of time they could come in and have a private time with the drums. So instead of sitting in some crazy loud drum store or music store where everyone's listening to you or you're making a lot of racket and kind of feel embarrassed about playing, it was a professional studio, all mic'd up, and what he'd do is he would just hit record and you could sit down and have fun playing drums, and then once you were done playing, he'd stop recording, you walk back in the control room and got to listen to how great the drums sounded in person, which is really cool. Also, it's really cool. He let me borrow a couple of extra drums from A&F so I can record. Tomorrow is the day I'm recording all of the pre-recorded sessions for Boom Click Boot Camp. So I'm really excited about that, but he let me borrow some drums. Anyway, all that to say, the experience today was really cool because I realized something, and this is true of almost any professional musician you run into, but I went there early in the day. I was the first one in there, and I was letting him borrow some stands and some things, and I was the first one in there, and then after me, Travis Nunn, the drummer for Chris Tomlin, showed up, and we knew each other from back. When All Sons and Daughters did a couple of tours where we opened for Chris Tomlin, so I knew Travis, and so it was exciting to see him. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and he went and tried the drums out, and then at the end of the day, I came back to pick up some drums and pick up the hardware that I let him borrow, and got to meet Bryson Nelson, who does Nelson Drum Co. here in Nashville, and he sells vintage drums. He also plays drums for Tim Timmons and another Christian artist here in town. And anyway, I'd never met Bryson before, but all of it to say, I got to hang out with some other drummers in town, and the thing that I noticed that's interesting is about drummers now. Well, let me step back a little bit. What's funny is, I think back when I was in high school, I was in drumline and stuff, and we all kind of, the other drummers in school, we, all were kind of competitive. We're all always trying to outdo each other and impress each other more and try to get in with the one cool band in school and be their drummer. And it was kind of like this weird standoffish kind of thing, or, if you knew the other drummer in their high school that was really good, you kind of were competitive and you maybe didn't like each other or something. But what I've noticed is that with professional musicians that I know here in Nashville, and the way it was today with the demo time at A&F was that it's the exact opposite once you meet other professionals. And I think what's interesting is that each of the guys that I met today were really comfortable being who they were as far as being a drummer goes. So for me, I was a little nervous going in, even sitting down to play. And having this awesome Rami is a professional drummer, played for guys like Seal, played on a Black Eyed Peas record, a lot of crazy stuff. Kind of nerve-wracking going in and sitting down and playing drums in front of this guy, and knowing that he's this amazing drummer. But anyway, it was just interesting to see that all the drummers were not competitive. It was a friendly thing. Everyone was comfortable with who they were. Didn't have anything to prove to anybody. Everybody had a gig, so it wasn't like we were trying to take each other's gigs. And I think that's something that if you can adopt that attitude early on, even if the area that you're in might be more competitive or might feel competitive, adopt the attitude of I'm comfortable with who I am. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. I'd be glad to help other drummer out because I've got my own thing going and I'm not trying to take anything from you, and I don't think you're trying to take anything from me. it really goes a long way, and it's such a nice thing to know other drummers and hang out with other drummers. And the cool thing is, like I said, the kind of the professional musician scene here in Nashville is pretty much full of that kind of attitude. There's not a lot of guys who are just, competitive and don't like each other and kind of stay away from each other or try to, blow each other away with cool stuff. There's a lot of love and a lot of camaraderie here. So I just want to encourage you to adopt that same kind of attitude wherever you're at, with the community of musicians around you. Try to support each other. Try to take care of each other. Don't try to compete. Be the best version of you that you can be as a drummer, and let somebody else take up their own space with their own drumming. All right, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Hope you enjoy your drumming time today. Bye.